self-sufficiency can be a common objection. Just because the client does not feel it's a cost to them does not mean that they require your service. What I mean by this is that there is the pool of clients which feel that they should do it themselves to save money, and there's the pool of clients which want to do it themselves because they can do it themselves or they like doing it themselves. Yeah? And so often this pool of clients very rarely need or depend on a financial advisor, right? So how do you appeal to this market if you're interested in this particular market? You have to kind of emphasize that for the most part, financial knowledge is very broad, which means that most people do not have all the financial knowledge that is required for them to get through the day, right? An example of this is that even if you are extremely self-sufficient, most financial sectors are divided. So if I'm a human being who does things, usually for my property, which is a huge asset, I will have a real estate agent, right? A real estate agent would specialize in real estate. And then if you're talking about another financial assets, maybe an investment specialist like myself would specialize specifically in stocks, bonds, ETFs, and the like. There could be other people which specialize in mortgage, right? So you need someone from the bank or you need like a mortgage broker to help you out with your mortgage on a financial level. You have tax planners or tax attorneys which help you out with your tax. So you can see that just in 4 different areas of personal finance alone that you already need 4 different people. Right? Or potentially you could use 4 different people. Of course, there are some advisors like myself which will handle 1 or 2 primary sectors. So in estate planning, I also do these 2 pretty well, but I don't tend to be as much of a specialist in these 3 areas, so on and so forth. Right? So the general idea is that you can emphasize through this very basic example to a client that they will still have certain benefits that come with bringing a financial planner to the table. So one of the ways which you could help someone who is a bit more self-sufficient is if you go in depth, right? Which is actually your job, because if you notice how I described the range just now, what we did is we covered a range of specialty areas in finance. And so if you want to specialize in those areas, if you have to be very good at insurance or investing, which is normally the case for financial planners, then you have to demonstrate that you can go a little bit more in depth, right? As an example, self-sufficient people, maybe they will look at, let's say, a term and whole life plan. Okay, let's give an example, a mathematical example. So maybe the term insurance plan would be $2,000 a year for 30 years, okay? And the whole life insurance plan is going to be $3,000 a year for 20 years, okay? So mathematically speaking, since they cost the same in totality, right, and the whole life plan actually lasts for the rest of your life subsequently, maybe the client who is self-sufficient will just calculate this as it is better to purchase the whole life plan, right? But if you do further mathematics as a specialist and you find that as the client has some opportunity cost for not doing anything with the $1,000 in the first 20 years of the term insurance policy, then it's possible to work out that if I invested this money or if I saved this money in a savings account, perhaps that $1,000 for 20 years difference can be used to offset the premiums for the term insurance plan later and still have access that is greater than the whole life plan, right? So those are things or greater levels of considerations that only you as a consultant can really try to come up with mathematically compared to a client who is more self-sufficient, who may not have spent pretty much their entire careers on this kind of level of debt, right? And so the easiest way I would say based on, or what I would conclude from this particular example is that if you can provide depth or provide an example of that, like what I just described, and make a more specific example, right? Which you can definitely do, and I think that it will be a pretty good example on how you could present to a client that, hey, like, yes, I understand you're self-sufficient, but this is my specialty area, so maybe we can discuss it and I can help to optimize your portfolio, right? Because one of the things that self-sufficient people do is they save time based on making quick, decisive decisions, but there may still be an opportunity for you to come back and help them save more money through ensuring that they have more appropriate insurance or investments than they currently have at that particular point in time.